Hey up YouTube, so here we are again, new phone, let me know how it looks. So today we're going to do a video that I actually intended on doing on Wednesday. We're going to deep dive into the irrigation. Didn't do it Wednesday because I was walking the dog, had an injury, haven't been able to get down the plot for a few days, and all the equipment to shoot the video was down here. So yeah, so I'm going to deep dive into the irrigation. I'm going to show you all the ins and outs, all the little nooks and crannies, all the parts, and we're going to talk about them. I've already kind of shown you the setup, but I'll run you through it again. But aside from that, guys, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that like button, please hit that share button. It is massively appreciated, massively helps me out. Welcome to all the new subscribers. I have seen that we've gone up quite rapidly over the past few days. Please remember that we do more than just gardening or more than just modelling, depending on what you've come along off the back of. And that will hopefully extend over time, although I've been saying that for a while now. But we'll see about that. So today, yeah, we're going to deep dive into the irrigation system. I'm going to run you through all the little bits and pieces I ordered, all the little bits and pieces I've used, sort of how it's put together or how I've put it together. I'm not going to go too much into the powering, but we are going to talk about the DC timer and things like that, and how I've made that safe. So if all that sounds great, please subscribe and I'll see you in a minute. Morning YouTube. Okay, welcome back. I'm thinking about redoing a title sequence, doing a new title sequence. That one, the one that I'm currently using, feels a little bit immature-ish, a little bit childish, so let me know what you think. So where we're going to start, right? Well, as you've seen on an earlier video, we've got the IBC to the rear of the shed with the gut ring obviously collecting water. Well, it's not at the moment, it needs tweaking, but the guttering feeding rainwater into the IBC. Coming off the IBC, now my tap that's on the IBC is a really old school tap. It's a 1-inch UNC connector. So I just used, these are all from waterirrigation.co.uk. I got everything from them, barring my secateurs, which is what I use to cut the pipe with. Absolutely everything. I didn't get it as a kit because the kits I wanted were sold out, but I put my own together. It's very easy to figure out what you need, and I'm sure that'll come to light as we're going through this. So I ordered some of these, which are, they come with this little union if I remember rightly, and they are a 1-inch UNC with a 3/4 inch UNC adapter that run to the supply line width. Now this is the supply line with an internal diameter of 13mm. It's a 13mm LDPE supply pipe. All that happens is you push that on there. Now normally what you'd do actually is you'd warm this bit of pipe up with some warm water. It'll stop it stretching the pipe. The pipe is more inclined to return back to its original diameter, sort of giving you a tighter fit on this barb. If for whatever reason you can't do that, they also sell hose clips at a very cheap price actually. I paid less for a box of 10 hose clips than I usually pay for hose clips at my automotive supplier. So order some extras, order plenty. These are, oh god, I've not got my glasses on me, so bear with me. These are 9mm, 9mm with a 12 to 20 meter internal diameter, 9mm thick. Now if you like, say if you haven't got hot water and you are just doing push fit, it wants to push all the way on, so that wants to be all the way up against the butt, and then you can tighten them on, and don't over tighten them because these things will crush plastic connectors. So let's see if I can get that back out. That from the IBC to the pumps, which you've already seen. I'm not going to, once again, I'm not really going to bush over those, but the pumps I've got, this just connects straight onto the pump, and then if you imagine the pump's here, straight out the other side. Out through a hole in the front of my shed. So I've brought all my electrics inside, and obviously I'm keeping the water storage outside. Straight out the front of the shed. Now out the front of my shed, because the back is higher than the front, or at least where the IBC is higher than the front, what I've had to then do is, now this stuff doesn't really like to bend, and if you do bend it, go so far and that happens. Now obviously that's going to stifle the flow of your water. Not what you want. You don't want that. So when you've come out the front of the shed, I wanted the pipe to come out and go down into the ground. That's where these guys come in handy. Anywhere where you need a corner, especially a sharp corner. I mean, this will bend. We'll just get a slightly longer piece. This will bend to an extent. You know, I'm bending, what will this be? About 1 meter's worth, and I can bend it into a circle without any kinks appearing. But any tighter than that, and it'll start to kink. It's not made for bending. So anywhere really where you need quite a sharp corner, certainly anything bearing resemblance to a 90-degree corner, you need to put these in. Now this is simply, and I'm going to use the measurements quite a lot because I know a lot of people either miss them or, you know, for whatever reason don't hear them. So once again, it's all just push fit. You'd normally heat this up in a cup of hot water, and it literally, you don't need to leave it in there and soak it for 10 minutes. Even with the 4mm supply pipe, drip pipe, a few seconds is all you need. But this goes on there, then obviously you've got a nice straight corner. So anywhere where you need a corner, you know, factor all this into your equations, plan out where you're going to run your pipes, think, oh, I need a corner there, because you can order these in ones. Now it is cheaper with the supply that I use to buy them in varying pack sizes. This is a pack size of 25. It is a lot cheaper to do it that way, but you can buy just one of these if you want just one of these. In fact, I think everything here you can buy in just ones, apart from obviously the pipe. I think the minimum measurement on that, I think it's 10 meter lengths. I think the minimum measurement on that is 5 meter lengths, but don't quote me on that, I'm not too sure. I got 50 meters of this and 50 meters of this, and I've got loads left, and I've still got a full 25 meters of supply pipe. But that's a plan for another day. Let's move on. So anywhere where you need a corner, you've got one of these. Anywhere where you need to split your water supply, so for example, sort of in here and in the back of the polytunnel, where I've taken the hose right the way around in a sort of, if you imagine this is sort of the back, this is one of the side walls, this is the back of the polytunnel, and you've got another wall coming around here. I've taken my pipe on the inside, up and across the back of the supply wall, back down, and then for my bed that sits in the middle here, I've taken, if we go into sort of horizontal vertical, I've taken the pipe straight up. Now obviously what I need to do for that is I need to add a split or an extra output. So what I've got across the back of the polytunnel is I've got one of these sat in the middle of the pipe, which then means that I've got my pipe running around in a circuit and up, and it continues on down this side. Now a lot of people are going to be thinking, oh well, yeah, but you know, you're asking water to run uphill and you're asking quite a lot of your pump. You are, but one of the other reasons I went with waterirrigation.co.uk we'll come to in a bit. That's these things. That's the dripper. I'll come to that in a bit. So anywhere where you need to put a split in or have an extra feed off, you've got these guys here. There are other options available, but I went for the T-bars. Once again, 13mm all the way across on all 3 points. Whew. Anywhere where you might have put a cut in, or you run out of pipe, or you need to extend, you've got these guys, which is a 13mm connector, just a straight connector. Then you've got these guys, which obviously when you come to the end of your circuit, it's just a 13mm bung. So, trying to do this relatively quickly. If you need clarification on any of it, guys, go to the end of the video, or watch till the end of the video, find my social medias and add me on either Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. Feel free to direct message me, comment down below. I'll always try and respond as quickly as possible. But if you comment down below, I'll be able to tell you, I'll give you links to all of this stuff. I'm not sponsored by waterirrigation.co.uk. I have asked them if they'd like to do a collaboration. They've not responded. I am not sponsored. I bought all this with my own money, but there's several reasons that I've gone with this company. So anyway, your supply line then runs across the back of your bed. Now if you picture this stuff is the water pipe in your street. This is the one that feeds the water to your entire street. So now we've got to get the water from the street line or from the main line to where you want it. Now, like I said, I've done drippers. You can quite easily do mini sprinklers. They do all the mini sprinklers, all that kind of thing. You just need to take into account the pressure of your pump. Not the PSI, but the litres per minute. Now I bought, well, no, we'll come to that. We'll come to all the complex stuff. We're still talking setup. So you've got your main line on your street. Now you need to use this line to get it to your house, or in this case, the dripper. What you use for that is 4mm drip line and 4mm, sorry, I'm getting used to this new phone, 4mm barbed connector. Now this stuff is hard to put together if you don't warm it up, so I'm not going to push it all the way in because it's a pig. But your 4mm barbed connector, like I said, normally you go all the way up against the nut there, and then that goes in there, which is where one of these comes in handy. These are 99p from the supplier. They do a really posh one for £11, but this does the job just fine. All you do, you get this, you get your supply line, and this punches a nice right size hole for this, and there you go, and that forms a nice watertight seal from your main pipe all the way down to your dripper, which is here. Once again, it's all push fit, guys, so I can't, it's dead easy to set up, so I'm just trying to get it to focus on the dripper. Now this is the main reason I use this company, because it was the only company I could find that did this reasonably priced. These are pressure compensating drippers. These are 4 litres per hour. Now, I did the maths. My pumps, my Trial King 10 pumps by SureFlow, do 10.6 litres per minute. Now, I can't remember all the numbers, and I'm not smart enough to write them down. But the way I did it is I did 10 points, right, I did one pump, 10.6 litres per minute. I timed that then by 60, obviously giving me the litres per hour. It's somewhere in the region of 636, something like that. These do 4 litres per hour. So then I divided the total of the pump litres per hour times by 60. I then divided by 4, which in theory then tells you how many of these one pump can run, which I think, once again, in my instance, gives me over 100. Don't need 100, but it gives me over 100. But what these do is, instead of just letting water free flow out of them, there's a little valve in them, and it maintains pressure in the line. And if water was to just free flow out, then really you might as well just have that just have that. And this is what differentiates this setup to one of the cheap £10 or £15 setups that you may well see on Amazon. The pipe and the fittings are better quality, they're UV resistant. The other ones will claim they're UV resistant, they'll fall apart within a year or two. These are fully UV resistant. This is a pressure compensating. So what it does, what that means is it maintains a constant pressure depending on the output. These will run anywhere between 1 bar to 3, I think it's 1 bar to 3.5 bar. My pump outputs at 30 psi, which is 2 bar, so they're more than happy with that. So my pump, I then discovered, obviously I found out that my pump could output enough to run 100 of these drippers. So that's why I went with this company, pressure compensating drippers. Yes, it means they can't be cleaned, but I got a bag of 100 of these drippers from the supplier, and I think it was around about £11. You know, what does it matter if they get gunged up? For £11, I could quite happily replace every dripper every year. There is one important thing actually that I've forgotten to mention. Actually, I need to service it today. There's an inline filter before the pump and after, obviously after the water source. And all it is it's nothing fancy. It's just a cylinder with another cylinder inside that's just I think it's an 80 GSM or 80 something or other plastic mesh in it, and all you do is you unscrew it every once in a while, take the inner cylinder out, give it a rinse out, put it back together, job done. It just helps prolong the life of your pumps. I do recommend that you put a filter in. That I think in actual fact, aside from obviously the massive amounts of hose, it was the most expensive component, around about £10. But if it prolongs the life of your pumps, guys, you can't say fairer than that, can you? You need to protect your pumps. So that's it. That is essentially your entire setup. Now what I've got to do today is, unfortunately, I couldn't get these from a supplier. I've had to order them on Amazon. They've come from a company, once again, not sponsored, pay for them myself. They've come from this company, growinsane.com. And all these do, guys, is that spike goes in the ground and it holds my 4mm drip line, which means that I can just elevate it above the water, above the soil, which means in theory, hopefully it'll stay cleaner. So you've put all this together, you've realised you've made a mistake. So you've now got a hole in your line. I've just realised I probably can't get this 4mm plug out, so we'll just make another hole. So we've got a hole we don't want and a hole we do want. Let's say these guys, they've thought of everything. You've got these, they call these goof plugs. They're 4mm goof plugs. So you've punched a hole you don't want. Obviously you can't leave that, otherwise it's just going to throw the water out of it. So you get these, push it in there, job's a good one, your hole's refilled. So you know, don't worry if you make mistakes. One of the other things I've added to my setup, on top of the filter obviously, is I'm adding these. These are just shut-off valves, 13mm shut-off valves. They go on the supply line, and what this means I can do is I can turn off or on the greenhouse or polytunnel as I need it. It means that I'm only running, if my greenhouse is empty, then I'm wasting stored water, watering it unnecessarily, but also it might mean that I've got crops in there that don't want as much water, so I'm still going to have to manually water them. I could invest in a second pump and have one for the greenhouse, one for the polytunnel. I have in fact got 2 pumps, but that's not something I want to do. And that's it, guys. It really is as simple as that. Like I said, all you need to do when you're planning is remember that sum for your pump, for your litres per hour. I think that's the most important thing. So, you know, you want to know your litres per hour, divide it by whatever dripper. Now, if you're using a reputable source, whether it's waterirrigation.co.uk, whether it's somebody else, maybe it's, I've not had a look at these guys' website, this growinsane.com. But any reputable supplier should tell you how many litres per hour their dripper is made to work with. So you get your maximum pump output per hour, divide it by your drippers per hour, and that'll tell you roughly how many drippers or sprinklers your pump can power. Because I'm using pressure regulating, it doesn't matter whether I lay 50 metres of hose or 10 meters of hose. That's the big key area that the pressure regulating drippers and sprinklers and things like that water irrigation do. Doesn't matter how long the supply line is, it makes no difference. Once the pump has filled that supply line, the dripper will keep that supply line full. Ah, man, this is turning out to be a long-winded me stood talking video, and that was not my intention. But hey ho, to be fair, I've been asked for this quite a lot. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is we've spoke about all the components, we've spoke about how to set it up. Like I say, keep that sum in mind, and you shouldn't go short on power from your pump. Bear in mind, you know, when you're planning how many turns you're going to have, how many twists, how many turns, how many splits you're going to have. You can order these in ones. Like I said, I've ordered multi-packs of everything, really. Never hurts to have spares. But it was so cheap. I think including pumps, I've irrigated this entire site for less than £200. That includes pumps, DC timers, wiring, all the irrigation components. Like I said, comes to less than £200. Sounds like a lot of money. You probably could do it a lot cheaper, but I went for quality components that are going to last a while. So what I'm going to do quickly, guys, is I'm going to run you through very quickly again what's in the polytunnel. We're going to finally set up some of the drippers using these guys. So I'll take you out there, we'll get that recorded, and that'll be it today, guys. So we'll do a quick look outside, and that'll be it. Back in a minute. Okay guys, this is going to be a little difficult for me to try and get everything in frame, but I'll just show you while I'm stood here behind the camera. Where's my hands? So what we've got obviously is the supply line coming in. I'm just going to pan down a second, because down there you can just about see the shut-off valve. So supply line comes in, so that's your main line, and then you've got your 4mm drip line runs down to the base of the plant. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to prop that up just above the level of the soil, just so that it stays a bit cleaner. So yeah, I'll try and not be in shot as much as possible. It is rather difficult. That's all I do. Quite literally, this is to water the kiwi, and it's quite literally as simple as that. I'm actually going to move that back a little bit. So like I said, it's to water the kiwi. Now I've got one of those drippers, in theory, for every plant. So sort of the kiwi, let me come back around. So as you can see, we've got the dripper running to the kiwi, and then we've got another dripper once again coming off the supply line. It's a continual line, so that line's still that one that comes in, goes all the way along, it's just tie wrapped to the frame. We've got another supply line coming to that chili, another supply line coming to that chili, and that is really all it is, guys. That really is all it is. What I'll try and do, as you can see, that's my sort of setup that's coming along the roof, and that's why I had to buy such a long amount of this 4mm dripper pipe. But like I said, because I've got pressure regulating drippers, it doesn't matter that I've got a long length of dripper pipe. It looks after itself. That's at the back here is where I've got that T-joint. And I've also got drippers coming off here, because I've got my mother plant strawberries, my cuttings, my grapevine. It doesn't matter when it comes to the supply pipe. The supply pipe's quite happy whether it's got something solid behind it or not. As long as you can carefully push that spike in, you can run a 4mm dripper line off it. This polytunnel, since I finished all this, has absolutely romped away. So what I'm actually going to get on with today is I'm going to plant out these tiny little tomatoes down here. I've already put the supply lines in for them down that back wall there. So I'm going to plant up those tiny little tomatoes. I've got some gaps in my central bed that I'm going to put some more tomatoes in. I'm actually going to do a sucker check as well, but that's not for today's video. For those of you that are interested, the grape that I pruned in the other video is as predicted. Let me see if I can zoom you in a bit there. Is romping away, absolutely romping away. It's well happy, so happy days. I think the frost might have got to one of the tips. Let me have a quick look. No, they're still alive. Where it's touching the polytunnel and the frost has come in. Where it's touching the polytunnel and the frost has come in over the past few days, it has killed the leaves. But aside from that, it's quite happy. The physalis are quite happy, the strawberries are happy. In fact, there is strawberries on the strawberry plants. And aside from that, that's everything, guys. That is the irrigation setup. It's the same setup in the greenhouse, it's the same setup in the polytunnel. I will do an addition to this video because in time I'm hoping to do sprinklers in the raised beds outside. Now that I've got the basic kit, I priced it up to sprinkler all my beds outside is only going to be an addition of £17. You know, why not? So until next time, guys, the irrigation's done. Happy days. The polytunnel now pretty much looks after itself. What I will do when all this comes into bloom and is fruiting and things like that and it wants food, all I'll do is I'll change the irrigation settings. Oh, that was it, the DC timer. I will cover it in another video, but I'll change the settings on the DC timer to not run 7 days a week. It'll run 6 days a week, and then one day, that 1 day a week where it doesn't run, I'll come down and I'll give everything a liquid feed. So it saves a lot of hassle, doesn't it, guys? So until next time, guys, I'll see you later.